Do you know people who make it so difficult for foreigners when it comes to English? Black Americans.
A few days ago, a podcast with two African gentlemen, one from the Congo and another, it seems, from Nigeria, called The Real Mania Show, decided to have a few words about Black Americans. And it started off pretty interesting. At first, there were some shots at Black Americans directed at the treatment that they receive from them being from Africa. And their complaint was that Black Americans are not really welcoming to Africans. And the conversation got interesting.
Do you know people who make it so difficult for foreigners when it comes to English? Black Americans.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you. I feel like white people, they have that understanding.
They understand. They actually want you.
They want
to learn. Yeah,
bro. Your language. White people, folks are open to them, but the Black, they are like, they have egos.
They have egos.
They always they have this enslaving of each other mentality.
Yeah.
When I first came to America, they have, even now my accent not that good, but they can hear me, right? Yeah. If I'm talking to the Black, they don't really pay
attention to.
They both agree that Black Americans tend not to want to listen to them because of their broken English. Yet white people, when they encounter them, are more interested in learning about their culture or even listening to them. Now, this complaint I can see being very valid. And the reason why I see this being very valid is because I have lived overseas for the last 10 years. When I talk to many Africans in Uganda or Kenya, they typically complain about my English. Although I'm speaking standard English, it's the fact that my English is too fast. And so because my English is so perfect, according to them, they say that I need to slow down.
Stop it.
And there are cases when I'm calling to get an Uber or get my food delivered, and a Ugandan answers the phone and he hears my English and automatically does this. So I can agree to this being a problem. Black Americans probably are not interested in speaking to somebody that they have a hard time understanding. This is something that typically happens worldwide, but I could see their point. And a Black American could definitely be a little bit more rude about it. But let's continue.
If you know every individual that comes to America, maybe certain percent might have experienced it. Talk to white people Black people when you don't have accent. They don't want to listen to you at all.
Yes, they don't have the passion.
They don't want to have that
patience
conversation. But white people will take time.
Yes.
They don't care if you're taking time for them to hear what you want to say. So from there now, who is racist who?
Now, the brother, who I believe is Nigerian, also complains about, these blacks don't want to engage you while whites engage you and they want to be your friend and they will try to work through the accent issue. And at the same time, the Black Americans complain about racism from white people, but who is actually being racist towards who? Let me talk about this. Just because a person doesn't want to engage you or speak to you, it doesn't mean that that person is racist. There are people all the time in the Black American community that you might try to talk to and understand them perfectly, and you just don't want to deal with them. Like, just think about a woman who is getting approached by a guy or somebody trying to sell you their mixtape. So just because you don't want to deal with that person, it doesn't mean that you are racist toward them. But I can understand their frustration. This is what he's saying. Like, you guys are complaining about being racist, but you don't want to engage us, while other whites that I come across want to engage us. I don't really think that that's a great point, but okay, it's not getting worse now, okay? But this one takes the cake.
Because they think they are better.
So in their mentality, it's like, okay, you're a foreigner, you came here to look for a life, that means you didn't have a life back home. I'm like, listen,
exactly.
The life that we have,
black, mentally,
black, no, Black Americans. Let's be specific. Me, I like to be very specific. You know what I mean? So for me, I think Black Americans
enslaving the Africans.
Mentally, they do slave us because they think they're better than us.
So he's saying that Black Americans do not realize that we had a great life in Africa before we came to America. So they discount our privilege or where we come from, thinking that we had nothing going on there. Well, the problem with that argument is, sir, if you had a lot going on there, you wouldn't be in America. Now, it could be definitely wrong to assume that a person was a nobody in the country that they come from. And that is a wrong assumption. I've met plenty of people that were in America and lived someplace else, and they were extremely rich, extremely successful, but they downplayed their wealth. So yes, you can't just assume that because somebody is in America and from a nation that is third world or not as developed as America, that they don't have anything. That is actually true. But the problem is when you're a person coming from a poor country to a richer country, then it's automatic that somebody will think that you are on a lower totem pole. And typically that is the case in American society. If you're coming from Nigeria or Congo or Ghana, it's easy to assume that you're coming to America for, number one, more opportunities, be it what, educational or economical. Anybody would assume that. But then the other part that I do not like is, well, they have a problem with us and they are holding us back. They are racist towards us. They are like enslaving us because they think they are better than us.
Boy, you don't sit your stupid ass down. Who the f you think you is?
This was probably the most silliest argument because the reason why Black Americans are in America is because Africans were complicit in the slave trade.
He's right, you know.
So there is no way that a person who was enslaved and brought to America could enslave a person that got into America based on a green card or a work visa or anything like that. It doesn't make any sense. And that's an argument that the person cannot defend just because they have bias against Black Americans. If we're going to talk about things and talk about Black Americans, you should talk about Black Americans objectively with proof instead of talking about them subjectively with falsehoods. And there are many mistakes that we make in the Black American community, but enslaving somebody is just not what we do. You actually did that to us. Now, on the same podcast, they start talking about delineation. Now, we didn't bring it up, they brought it up. Check this out.
What is your take on Black Americans?
I don't have that conversation because I believe they are their problems, you understand? For me, I know one of the problems we have is the Black to Black Americans.
Black Americans, because I hate the Black. Me, I'm not Black. Me, I don't like when you put, just because I'm in America and I'm from Africa, now you put me in this. No. I believe that we have Black Americans. Me, I'm not Black Americans. I'm Black. Actually, I'm African American because I don't consider myself as Black. No, I'm not. What do you mean Black? Do you know Black? Do I look like this? Don't tell me I look like this, bro. No. If you tell me I'm Black, do I look like this?
Now, the person is saying that he is not Black American, and that's probably one of the things that he said that most Black Americans right now agree with. He uses the term African American. So he says that Black Americans are Black Americans, and he's African American, and then he points to the color of his microphone. Do I look like this black mic? So what the man is insinuating here is Black Americans are as black as that microphone, and he's just African American. But if you think about it, he is darker than most Black Americans. So if you really want to be honest about who is closer to the color of that microphone, well, I mean, I think we have a clear answer here. He is a dark-skinned man. Nothing wrong with being a dark-skinned man because I'm also a dark-skinned man. But we have people who claim to be African-American who are as light as Halle Berry, who has some admixture, or Beyonce, or as dark as Tyrone Hill. So being a Black American is not about how dark you are. It's about what you identify as. And it's clear he identifies with being African. So he's right to use African American. But then he says something that is problematic.
So when you call me Black, me, I'm African American. Or you can call me Congolese African American. You know what I mean? If you want to really put label, let's put a label on it. Congolese,
give me my label.
African American. Don't call me Black. I'm not Black. I'm not this. You know what I mean? So and I really hate that label of Black this, Black that. All in all, but if we can go with that concept, the end of the day, I'm not Black Americans. If you can say Black and put that, at least Black African American. Why? Not just because my father is from Africa, but because I know where I came from. And I've been where.
So he uses the argument in so many words that Black Americans don't have culture. And this is something that I have experienced a lot. I live in Uganda, so I've heard these sorts of arguments before and firsthand. And when we talk about culture, and he didn't use the word culture, but he says, I know where I'm from. Well, if cultures are languages or behavior patterns within certain groups, then we have to understand that if your culture was very strong, which you may be proud of it, it wasn't strong enough to keep you in the Congo. It must have been a culture that didn't work in your favor. And that's something that we're going to have to get away from when we're talking about cultural arguments. Of course, a country like Congo is huge. They have great people, great population, successful people. But if you look at Congo on the world stage and you use culture, then, and if you rank Congo with some of the best performing countries in the world, then we can easily talk about the culture that is affecting that country. Now, again, they have adversaries, but if you're going to say you know where you come from, as if that makes you great, then you would not be in America, because where you come from means that you have a strong culture and you know who you are. So therefore, you should be able to produce for yourself in the Congo. That's what you have to say if you want to use cultural arguments. Because whenever you tell a Black American that you have culture and they don't, then what we must believe or infer is that your culture is superior to what we have been exposed to. But if it's not, and you have to go to another nation, then what you're saying is your culture doesn't produce anything. And I'm going to be honest and tell you what most African cultures produce. Outside of having lovely foods and lovely ways of doing things and producing a whole lot of rich history and value, a lot of African cultures produce something that Black Americans don't, which is called gatekeeping. That happens a lot. A lot of African cultures participate in gatekeeping, which halts the progress of individual states or regions or countries within Africa. And that culture of gatekeeping, taking credit for other things that people do, lying and stealing on other people so they can't grow, forces people like him to come to America, and then he'll go back to Africa and most likely become one of those gatekeepers too, oppressing his own people. That is the honest truth about what happens in many African countries. And when we talk about culture, let's talk about the culture of gatekeeping. Let's talk about the culture of hiding opportunities for somebody. Let's talk about the culture of denying African talent. Instead of operating in a culture of meritocracy, and there are some countries who do it like Kenya and sometimes Nigeria, the culture operates on a culture of nepotism, which really slows down the development. And so because of your culture, you're in America or in Canada, and then you take shots at Black Americans when your culture can't even protect you. That doesn't make any sense. And so when you have these arguments like that, somebody like me who lives on the continent of Africa and understands maybe not everything that goes on, but has a world view of what happens on a continent, I can tell you that if he had an opportunity where he was at in the Congo or the other guy in Nigeria, they would not be in America. And Black Americans don't owe you anything, because Ugandans tell me that all the time. You go to Kenya, they'll tell you that all the time. Black Americans don't owe you any love or support. Ugandans don't owe me any love or support. Nobody asked for you to come to somebody's country. You're there for your own reasons, and somebody wants to be nice to you, that is their prerogative, but they damn sure don't owe you nothing. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shady Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Drunk. Pretty sure for all you do, subscribe to the bell. We're out.